I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like I'm on top of the world.
Disclaimer. You will not be transported to the top of the world. In the unlikely event you find yourself at the Arctic Circle, seek shelter from the elements immediately to avoid frostbite and or hypothermia. Geico will not be responsible if you find yourself in a cave or crevasse with a lonely abominable snowman, who in all likelihood will force you to play games including but not limited to Go Fish, charades, Chinese checkers, or his personal favorite, Red Rover, send Yeti on over. Geico is not liable for any damages, either physical or emotional.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
This is the Will Cain Podcast on ESPN Radio.
I've been trying for the life of me to figure out why so many people across this nation are rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles. Set aside those of you who are from Philadelphia or from the greater Pennsylvania, New Jersey area and grew up rooting for that odd color of green and those feathered helmets. Set aside those of you who live in New England and are all in on Bill Belichick and Tom Brady and rooted for them through the miserable years of the 1980s and now reaping the benefit of the dynasty they are now. Set aside those two groups of people. What I cannot figure out, and I'm trying to figure out, is how you, sitting in your car, driving through Norman, Oklahoma, or Albuquerque, New Mexico, or Columbia, Missouri, why you would root for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think I begin to get it. I even sat down, I was like, okay, let's make a list, like 4, give me the top 3, and I actually came up with 4. 4 reasons that you, the uninvested, unaffiliated fan, could find yourself today rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl this weekend. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. You know, neither of these fan bases have done anything, honestly, to earn your fandom. You know, New England Patriots fans largely behave and act like Kevin Winter sitting over there in our newsroom studio. I mean, there's nothing Kevin's ever done that makes me want to be on his team. I mean, those of you sitting in the booth, Cerruti, Bubba, Nuno, tell me if I'm wrong. Like, we don't want to be on the same side as Kevin Winter, right?
No, I can't. I couldn't stand to do that. You're wearing a patch shirt today.
Yes, I am. Of course he is.
Patriots shirt.
You get that, Kevin. Like, we don't want to be your teammate. But yet here I am today thinking the logical place to be, the place with integrity, the place that shows real, true sense of fandom is to be rooting for the New England Patriots. By the same token, by the way, Philadelphia Eagle fans are notoriously some of the worst in the country, and they wear that as a badge of honor. It's no insult, Eagle fan, to say you behave rudely. You've done nothing. You've done nothing ever to ask us, to ingratiate us to your side. You've never wanted us, nor have you politely asked or behaved in any way that invited us into your party, that we wanted to wake up and go, can't wait. I'm rooting for those Eagles this weekend. So for that matter, by the way, I guess it's a draw when it comes to which one of you fan bases has done anything to earn our fandom for this weekend. But why would it be then that there's this map floating around Facebook? I think we've all seen it. I think, Bubba, you said you saw it. Nuno, you saw it. Somebody said they got in an argument with their Facebook friends that shows the country is overwhelmingly rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles. The pockets of fans, the pockets of geography of this country that are rooting for the New England Patriots look like this. It's a green country, every state, but for these exceptions. A little pocket around Dallas-Fort Worth, a little pocket around Washington, D.C., one around New York City, and the state of North Dakota, which blows my mind. Carson Wentz is from North Dakota. Why would North Dakota be rooting for the New England Patriots? Why would they join essentially the NFC East and root for the New England Patriots? Does anyone have an answer to that, by the way?
I have no idea.
None of you guys?
No.
No idea. That's where Carson Wentz is from. Maybe they don't want Nick Foles to win a Super Bowl in Carson Wentz's absence. I can't figure that out. But anyway, go ahead, Cerruti.
Maybe they're jealous for Carson Wentz, like I was talking about earlier this week. Like, if I'm Carson Wentz, I don't want the Eagles to win, and maybe North Dakota is also following suit there.
I guess. Maybe they're Vikings fans.
Yeah, someone was making the argument in the pre-show meeting that state is all Vikings fans, so they're upset.
All right. Well, set aside North Dakota. Explain to me this, 888-729-3776, how any unaffiliated fan could be rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles. Here's my list. As I said, I put my work into this. I said, what are the 4 reasons that an unaffiliated fan would swing to the Philadelphia Eagles for this weekend. And I've got, like I said, 4. Number one, I rarely like verbal crutches, cliches, regurgitated thoughts. It plagues our business. It plagues talk radio. It plagues TV. Things like at the end of the day, or it's not a good look, or it is what it is. I hate that stuff. When I hear that stuff, I realize that person has nothing to say. Well, sometimes those platitudes and cliches are true, I guess. You know, sometimes those things people say almost vacantly because they've heard it 10 times have a element of truth. That's how they got around. That's how they made it around for someone to learn how to regurgitate it. And the one that I keep coming back to on this is, in America, I guess we like to build people up to tear them down. I've heard that so many times and I've rejected it like, oh, come on. When do we really do that? I mean, we always have a reason. It's not just because someone's on top that we look to tear them down. But when it comes to the New England Patriots, I truly think it probably satisfies that platitude. We build them up to tear them down. Number 2, we hate greatness. If you've been listening to this show for the first month, and by the way, if you are, you're in very good company, as we learned this morning. Gary Player, part of the Willisha, tweeted at me today and said, under no circumstances, Will Cain, no scenario could Booger McFarland beat me in a round of golf. A fair and even 18 holes of golf. Booger McFarland never would win that. Guess Gary Player was listening yesterday. But if you've been listening, you realize I've said this. In fact, I've heard my voice on promos walking around ESPN. If you hate me, don't worry, because I'm so tired of hearing myself on those things as well. I think people truly hate greatness. I think we talk it up. We pretend like we like it. We hope that it reflects something that we either aspire to or think we emulate in some small portion of our life, but we don't. We hate greatness because we realize we're not. And it's a constant reminder of our own failings in life. So when the New England Patriots are great, we hate them for it. So we build people up to tear them down. 1, we hate greatness. 2, 3, we just get bored. We just get flat out bored of someone always on top. Same team winning it over. Although, Cerruti, I would ask you this. I don't remember people getting bored of the Chicago Bulls. I don't remember people getting bored of Michael Jordan and actively rooting against him. I don't feel like we've treated other dynasties quite the same way we've treated the New England Patriots.
Well, Jordan also had that hiatus in the middle of the 6-year run, or the 6 championship run, so at least there was a break in between. I think we like to see guys rise up to that point, but as soon as they stay there too long and wear out their welcome, then we want to kick them to the curb.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's back to the we like to build you up to tear you down thing. I'll say this, there's one other. The 4th point I would make is, and this one's the most legitimate of all of them, I think, we instinctually root for the underdog. I remember either reading a column by Malcolm Gladwell or listening to a podcast with Malcolm Gladwell, and they talked about psychology where in fandom, 90% of fans, 9 out of 10 times, fans root for the underdog. The underdog is who we want to see win. We want the unexpected, the little guy. We want David to win. Nobody ever wants Goliath to win. Gladwell, by the way, said he never roots for the underdog. He always roots for the favorite. When he sees in the NCAA tournament a 1 seed go down, he considers it a crime against math. Like, that's not the way it would happen if you played this game 100 times, so he doesn't like the idea that it would happen one time. It's this crime against logic and fate and math to see the underdog win. But I understand that people root for the underdog. In fact, Nick Foles, quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl, had talked about that idea and that he's embracing the idea that he's an underdog. Listen.
I mean, I'm pretty sure we are underdogs in this game. And that's just sort of been, but that's Philadelphia. I mean, it's fitting. And, it goes back to, we're focused on the locker room. We're focused on the guys in the locker room. We know that through every injury, through everything everyone's gone through this year, everyone just said Philly can't do it. We hear it. We get it. I get asked questions every week about it. But that's where it goes back to all these other questions. Like, we focus on each other. What matters is that locker room, the coaching staff, the people that are in the NovaCare facility, which is where we practice. That's what matters.
So there you have it. We hate greatness. We build things up to tear them down. We get bored. And we root for underdogs. Those are the 4 reasons I would guess. But tell me why you're rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles. 888-729-3776. Cerruti, let's do this really quickly. We have 3 super Eagle fans in our ESPN Radio production department, right?
Correct.
Mike Uranaga, Cliff Augustin, and Pat Costello. And we asked them, considering the Eagles have never won a Super Bowl, what they would do to guarantee an Eagles win in the Super Bowl. Let me know what they said, Cerruti.
Here, we'll play one from Pat first.
would I be willing to be celibate until the next time the Eagles win the Super Bowl? That implies that I get girls now, which I don't. So, yeah, I mean, that would be a piece of cake. I don't even have to try for that one. Mark it down, complete. Next.
So, Pat's in. Okay. Pat's in. He's willing to remain celibate until the next Eagles Super Bowl. All right. Although that's no sacrifice for him. All right. We got more of that. We got a lot of different scenarios we've asked him. What would they be willing to sacrifice to win an Eagles Super Bowl? And straight ahead, why the Pats have an amazing coaching advantage. And it might surprise you. The answer might just be a machine in the back of their locker room that clones their favorite players. That straight ahead on the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Hi, everyone. Will Cain here. Support for the Will Cain podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/will. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Super Week 2018 on the Will Cain Show.
The Prophet's going to lock it in today. For now, it can feel like a little bit of the kiss of death to say, I think the New England Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl. But I do. You give me the greatest football player of all time in Tom Brady. You give me the greatest coach of all time in Bill Belichick. And you give me 2 weeks, I feel like you would be a moron to bet against the New England Patriots.
Super Week 2018. Here's Will Cain.
I said that on Monday. I stand by it on Friday. Nothing this week has changed my opinion. The New England Patriots will beat the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl on Sunday. The only thing that's changed that I can measure is that Rob Gronkowski is now guaranteed to play this weekend. No reason to change my pick. In fact, I'll tell you what. Over the course of the next 3 hours, I'll be laying out what advantages the Patriots have, how this chess game will play out, and why exactly they will win this Super Bowl. In fact, in just a moment, I'm going to talk about what Bill Belichick apparently has up his sleeve, the advantage that he has that's going to lead to a win over the Philadelphia Eagles. But first, as I said, we've got a couple huge Eagles fans in our ESPN radio department. And considering the fact that they're the only team in the NFC East that has never won a Super Bowl. I mean, Cowboys fans, we got 5. Giants fans like Nuno, you got 4. Even Redskins fans, they have 3 Super Bowls. And it's embarrassing for the Eagles that they're sitting down there with a donut at the bottom of the division. So here they are again, their third opportunity to win a Super Bowl. So what exactly would they do? We asked Mike Uranaga, Cliff Augustin, and Pat Costello. We just heard from Pat Costello that he'd be willing to be celibate until the next Eagles Super Bowl. What do you have for me now, Cerruti?
This is Uranaga. There's 2 that I want you to hear. Let's hear the first one first here.
Okay.
How much of my pinky finger would I cut off with a big heavy metal paper cutter, the kind from middle school, for the Eagles to win the Super Bowl? That one's pretty easy. I would cut off the entire thing. Not only would it be a really great story, but, who needs a pinky finger anyway?
He's got a point about the pinky finger.
Okay, fair.
It's extra. The pinky finger, would you rather, is the pinky finger more extra than the pinky toe?
Oh, I
think it is.
Oh man, that's a great question. I'd probably lose the pinky finger.
The pinky toe is sneaky important, I think. You start hobbling around without it, you might realize
balance.
That puts a real hitch in your gait. Man, those old middle school big paper cutters, you just come down on your finger, and he said the whole thing. He didn't even have to say the whole thing. He could have just said the tip. But he went all the way right off the bat.
But then let's hear the second one, because I think the second one is equally as dumb, but play it here, Bubba.
How many Tide Pods would I eat for the Eagles to win the Super Bowl? 0. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Why would you eat something that's made to wash your clothes? Ridiculous. I would eat 0 Tide Pods just because eating Tide Pods are just dumb. It's just dumb.
But cutting your finger off, cutting your pinky off, it's not dumb.
Eating a Tide Pod's so stupid, but yeah, I'd cut my finger off. Like, what the heck?
Hey, people don't die from this Tide Pod eating thing, right? By the way, quick PSA to all the kids out there, don't eat Tide Pods. It is dumb. Ernaga's right about that, and it's got to be bad for you. But people aren't dying from this? It doesn't kill you?
I don't think so. I mean, I'd imagine if you ate a bunch of them, it would, but...
What's the record?
One doesn't hurt.
Somebody set a record? Is that what this is about? Is somebody trying to be I ate the most Tide Pods guy?
Don't encourage them.
I'm not. You're right, Winner. PSA, don't eat Tide Pods.
Don't eat
All right,
Tide Pods.
Just cut your pinky off to ensure your Super Bowl.
Much safer.
All right. Listen, it comes as no big surprise. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks. It comes as no surprise that the New England Patriots have a massive coaching advantage in the Super Bowl. But that's to take nothing away from Doug Peterson, who has shown in these playoffs and over this season as he's moved from his star young quarterback to a backup quarterback, his star left tackle to a backup left tackle, from his middle linebacker to a backup middle linebacker, all across the board, and game planned ways to use Nick Foles and beat Nick Foles, use Nick Foles to beat the Atlanta Falcons. Doug Peterson is a good coach. He's just no Bill Belichick. And there's an interesting article up on The Ringer right now by Danny Kelly talking about the archetypes of New England Patriots players. And it begins to make you think, does Belichick have like a cloning machine, a replicator in the back there in Foxborough? Because just listen to this for a moment. Listen to what the players they've had. And if you played fantasy football, you're going to remember all this. The Patriots have about 4 on offense archetypes, prototype players. They have, first of all, we all know, the short, fast slot receiver. This is the one everybody talks about. In fact, he's short, fast, and white. That's normally how it works. It's Wes Welker turns into Julian Edelman, turns into Danny Amendola. Same guy, no matter what his name is, same role for the New England Patriots. They also have the pass-catching running back. The prototype, the one they created the mold on, was Kevin Falk 15 years ago. Since Kevin Falk, that turned into Danny Woodhead, Shane Vereen, Dion Lewis, James White. They just keep create the new one. That one's old, that one's tired, churn out the new ones. It's not just those two positions. How about power running back? It went from, again, the prototype was Corey Dillon. He was the best version they had of this. He was a true stud. But Xerox copies of Corey Dillon, Antoine Smith, Lawrence Maroney, Sammy Morris, the law firm of Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, Stephen Ridley, LeGarrette Blount. Boom, boom, just off the assembly line. And finally, the big deep threat receiver, the guy that gets you 1,000 yards and puts up the touchdowns. You go back in time, they turned Brandon Lloyd into that guy. He had 74 catches, 911 yards. Troy Brown, remember the Davids? David Givens, David Patton. If you played fantasy football, these guys popped out of nowhere, and you're like, how am I doing this? I've got this guy I've never heard of. David Patton over here lighting it up. Deion Branch. Chris Hogan. It's now Brandon Cooks. And, of course, the king of this prototype, he wasn't the first, but he was the king of it, was Randy Moss. Belichick just seems to have a machine. It doesn't matter what the name or actually even the talents of this guy are. I mean, you got to have certain talents, but they apparently all can fit into these 4 roles he needs from his players over and over again. Whatever he got, wherever he got these cloning machine, this replicator machine, or as we might just point out, it's a system. You might develop a simple system that you can plug players in to do their job. You might emulate the Patriots. That's Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. We got some phone lines lit up from people that are rooting for the Eagles. But the thing is, guys, I see all these guys, right, on the phone line. They're all from Pennsylvania. So how does that work? I know why they're rooting for the Eagles. But straight ahead, Louis Riddick is going to join us. Can he envision a scenario? Louis probably made his pick. Tell me how the Eagles win this game. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Mike Golick here. You know, ADT, the #1 security company, can now help keep you safe at home and when you're on the go. Get started with the ADT Starter Kit professionally installed for only $49. Plus, you'll get ADT Go, the new family mobile safety app and service with 24/7 emergency response for free with any ADT security system. Go to ADT.com/podcast to learn more today.
Requires 36-month monitoring contract, QSB and Easy Pay. Activation and early termination fees may apply. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com. Additional charge for ADT Go premium services after March 31st, 2018.
Good. He shouldn't be punished, and there's not a jury in the country that would convict him. If you're just listening to Kevin Winter's Sports Center update about the father and the victim testimony portion of the Larry Nassar trial that rushed the stand attempting to attack Larry Nassar. Good. She's not going to punish him, and no one. You could not find a jury in America that would convict him. Bubba, on a lighter note, you got a text calling back to something we did a little earlier. We're asking our resident Philadelphia Eagle fans in the radio department what they'd be willing to sacrifice for an Eagles guaranteed win in the Super Bowl. And our own Pat Costello admitted that he'd be willing to be celibate for an indefinite period of time until the next Eagles Super Bowl. He's happy to do so because he's giving up nothing. He's getting a none as it is. And you got an update, Pat, Bubba?
Yeah, Pat texted me, a fellow Fordham guy, by the way. He texted me, tremendous. The world knows I get no girls. Love it.
You put it out there, Pat.
There you go,
You're
Pat.
the one that said
can't get any worse.
No big sacrifice. Maybe somebody can help you out with that, Pat. Maybe a nice listener. In fact, you want to call in 888-729-3776. If you want to help Pat out along that path, we'll be happy to play matchmaker. But for now, our phone line's tied up with ESPN NFL front office insider Louis Riddick on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. He's the former Eagles director of pro personnel just 5 years ago, Louis, and a defensive back for many years. So I haven't heard yet, Louis. Who's your pick? Have you picked a winner yet?
Yeah, I sure have. Well, I've always said this was a pick-em game. It'll go down to the wire. Field goal will probably win it. I think it's that close. But I think because of New England's resiliency, how tough they are mentally, that they just continue to grind you until they find a way. I have a 24-21 New England.
Give me the scenario that creates an Eagles win. I think the Pats are going to win too. I just think it's simply folly to bet against Belichick. But if you said the Eagles will win if this one thing happens, what would that be?
There's 7 defensive linemen that they have that they rotate on a regular basis. Really overwhelm the Patriots' offensive line, which quite possibly could happen. And they really keep Tom off balance to the point where he can never get into a rhythm. Just the same way that the Giants have done to him in the past in the Super Bowls that they have lost. And that's going to be the difference. That could be the difference. And you'll know early on just how much trouble the Patriots' offensive line is in, because the interior of the offensive line is really where you want to watch in particular. And you want to see who can deal with Fletcher Cox. Can the the two guards in the center, can they combo him enough, double team him enough to where he does not get immediate, interior pressure? Because if he does, and the pocket starts collapsing like that, and Tom can't step up, then that makes the edge rushers even more effective because they don't have to cut off their rush so short. They can kind of run even wider and deeper in the pocket, and that just could spell disaster for New England. So just watch that battle early. Watch Fletcher Cox. See what they can do with him, especially on those third and medium, third and long.
I will. In fact, I'm going to talk about what that chess match may look like a little bit later in the show and how the Patriots might counteract that rush from the Eagles' defensive line. But let me ask you this. I don't know, Louis. There's a chance that I've just gulped down the Kool-Aid, but I've read so many articles about the coaching advantage that Belichick has, the things he does different. I'm watching the Tom vs. Time documentary. I saw the 2 Bills. I'm just drinking in the gospel, right? And 2 of the things that I read this week were the investment the Patriots make in sleep, simple sleep, making sure players take naps, making sure that sleep is prioritized during Super Bowl week and the effect that can have on a team, and how much the Patriots invest in running. I read this one earlier this week, all through training camp, running intervals, running, like players who were interviewed had said they'd never run before. This stuff is simple, but the Patriots' secret always seems simple. Louis, what I'm curious is it really that simple, or has this just been turned into gospel and everybody else is doing it?
No, I think there's obviously added benefit to being able to go longer than the other team can. And the only way you can be in condition to do that is to condition. And it's not something that's very popular amongst NFL teams because there obviously is a priority put on and placed on keeping your guys fresh when you're this late in the season. But Bill is old school like that. That's what he believes in. And just look at what happened last year in the Super Bowl. As those plays started mounting up, especially for Atlanta's defense, and they started getting into the 90s in terms of the number of plays that Patriots had won, which team looked fresher at the end of that game? It was obvious. Okay, and then as far as sleep and rest and recovery, I mean, that's nothing new. It's just that whether or not can you get your guys to really buy into what you're saying. If Bill can't get you to buy in, nobody can. If you don't believe that what he's telling you will help you win championships, then who the hell are you going to believe? The guy's he's in Super Bowls left and right over and over and over again. So I think with him, he's preaching a message that every other coach does, but the impact that his message has on players is much different because of who he is and because of what he's done.
Right.
So that's obvious.
Yeah, so the difference is not what he's preaching, but the fact that people listen to it. It's the authority.
Sure.
All right, Lewis, I appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Finish your thought.
I was just going to say, like, if I was telling guys to do that and Bill telling me, it's just totally different. The guy's just on another level. And players talk about it all the time when they go up there as potential free agents. Like, I've talked to guys who've gone up there and taken less money, and their free agent visit is not like most free agent visits where they wine you and dine you and put you in the Ritz-Carlton and have you picked up in the limo and stuff. They may send a courtesy van and have you in a Holiday Inn and have you just meet with a bag lunch with Bill one-on-one. But you go anyway because you know that you're at the mountaintop. You're getting coaching from the guy. That says something.
All right, that's ESPN NFL front office insider Louis Riddick on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Appreciate your time, Louis.
You got it, buddy. Thanks.
Really quickly here, as we're going out, I've asked 888-729-3776, why uninvested fans? I mean, you're not wearing that weird color green and you're not a Patriots fan. Why are you rooting for the Eagles? Because the country overwhelmingly is. Let's go real quick to Calvin in Pennsylvania. Calvin, why are you rooting for the Eagles?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. So I grew up a Packers fan. I believe green and gold. So I live in Lancaster County, which is, like smack dab in Eagles country. But any other year, man, I would be cheering against them. But because they're playing against the Patriots, and I'm kind of the underdog guy. I really like Nick Foles as an underdog story, and
so it's the underdog.
That's probably why I'm cheering for. Yeah, I think so. I mean, your four items that you listed off, I would agree with like 1 and 4. But for me, I have respect for New England. Probably any other year, I'd be cheering for New England. It's impressive what they're doing.
You're right. All right, I appreciate the call, Calvin. All right, straight ahead. I told you I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm gulping it down. I'm watching Tom vs. Time. Here's the thing. We have to ask this question. We have to answer it. Is Tom Brady starting to sound like Tom Cruise? Is Tom Brady starting to give you some Tom Cruise vibes? I saw one of my favorites and apparently somebody who enjoys the Will Cain show from time to time, Bill Simmons, put that in his Super Bowl mailbag today. You can see it on The Ringer. So among Patriots fans, starting to be some Tom Cruise vibes floating around. Real quick, Kevin Winter over there in the newsroom. You've drank all the Patriots Kool-Aid. Are you getting Tom Cruise vibes from Brady?
Repeat it. Kev is spacing out.
Go ahead. Hang on. I'm talking to someone in here. Go ahead.
Look, Winter, you're either with the show or you're not. What are you doing over there? You're eating Doritos with your mic off?
No,
your headset's not on?
I'm busy. Talking to bosses.
Oh, all right.
Go ahead. So what do you say?
Look at him. Look at that creepy laugh. Are you getting Tom Cruise vibes from your man Brady? Are you getting a little nervous?
No, not at all.
Of course you're. Okay, of course you're not.
He's Tom Brady.
Back to the Doritos.
Thank you.
All right, back to the Doritos.
Good chat.
Back to the Doritos. Okay. Take your headset back off. All right, I'm going to explain it. But first, Troy in Pennsylvania, we've been asking, why are these unaffiliated random fans from across the nation all rooting for the Eagles? The only pockets rooting for the Patriots are, of course, New Englanders like Kevin Winter and Dallas and Washington, D.C. and New York City, essentially the NFC East fans, and North Dakota, oddly, which somebody tweeted me and said that's because there's a bunch of transplant Texans up there working in the oil industry that are Cowboy fans. That's why they're not cheering for their adopted son, Carson Wentz, on the bench. So anyway, that's who's rooting for the Patriots. Everybody else, the Eagles. Troy, why? Why are you rooting for the Eagles?
Will, enjoy the show.
Thanks, man.
Hey, everybody else in Pennsylvania besides, down near Philly, love the Steelers. And they just they don't want to see New England, tie their record as far as Super Bowls go. So, and you know how the Steeler Nation is
Troy?
Across this nation.
All right, Troy. The Judge. We're going to add that to my list of titles. The Prophet, the Judge as well. I'm going to bang a gavel on this one. You are excused for rooting for the Eagles in this one. I grant you that exception. It's a fine reason, and it makes me a little bit sad. I did the same thing. As a Cowboys fan, I wanted to protect the America's team that's made 8 Super Bowl appearances and won 5 times. I don't like the Steelers as it is because I carry some 1970s, which I was barely alive for, bad blood forward with that. But also, I didn't want the Steelers winning more Super Bowls than the Cowboys. And now that you see the Patriots approaching your record, Steelers fans, I think it's perfectly fine for you to root for your cross-state rival, however you guys feel about each other, Steelers and Eagles fans. That makes sense. gavel banged. I get it. You can root against the Patriots because they're encroaching upon your record. All right. Tom vs. Time. It's the Facebook documentary that's up right now. It's 4 parts. I think it's split into the mind, the spirit, the body, and the social. It's really good. In fact, I want to watch it with my sons and say, look, this is what it takes to be great. This is the dedication. Look at the lessons you can learn here. But there are parts that are starting to give me some creepy vibes. There are some parts that I might say, boys, look away. Now, you listening know my love for Tom Brady. But we can't overlook the awkwardness that's going on. First of all, there's a scene in the latest where he's getting a rub down. He's always getting a rub down from Alex Guerrero. Always getting a massage from Alex Guerrero. And he's on some retreat with Edelman and Amendola in Montana. And Guerrero's really working the groin. Like, he's getting some pliability in the groin muscle here. And Tom's got his leg up. And from the other angle, all you can see is Guerrero, like, just hand up and down, up and down, up and down, working this groin over and over and over. And you can't escape what this looks like. And Edelman walks in the front door from an angle where you wouldn't, let's put it this way. If you weren't on a retreat with Tom and known what was going on with Alex Guerrero, you would quickly go, all right, I'm out of here. Whoa, boys. It's the most awkward looking massage you've ever seen. And from a certain angle, you would have no doubts about what was going on. You're in the middle of one of those, you're not to the ending. You're not to the but you're on your way. Also,
I'm just laughing at you. I'm listening to you toe this line, and sometimes successfully and sometimes not.
I'm telling the truth, Winter. That's what I do here. I just tell the truth. Even when it doesn't suit me. Even when it doesn't suit my Brady fandom. And that leads me to this truth as well. There's another scene where, again, Tom is getting a rub down from Alex Guerrero, and his son comes in. I'd say his son is 12. And he's like, hey, okay, give me a kiss. And the kid gives him a kiss, and he's like, that's a peck. And so the kid comes back and gives him a kiss on the mouth, which, okay, but it goes like 3 Mississippi. It's over the, period of time. You're just the time, kiss on the mouth. It goes a little over the period of time, and you're like, whoa, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, enough. And all I'm saying is it's a little awkward. And I'm not saying it's wrong, Tom. You do your thing. I'm just saying I don't ever remember getting kisses from my dad. I have 2 sons. The 6-year-old gets a kiss on the lips. The 10-year-old certainly does not. And the 6-year-old's only had it like 2 or 3 times in his life. It's always forehead kisses. Did you guys get kisses on the lips from your pops? Bubba? Cerruti?
Not once, not ever. My dad's not a kissing kind of guy.
Well, yeah, probably up until about 4 or 5.
Who was that, Winter?
Yeah, even from pops. Up until about 4 or 5. It
On the
stopped
mouth?
at a young age.
How many how many
quick.
Mississippis, Winter?
No, very quick. Peck.
In and out?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bubba?
I don't know. Maybe when I was real young, but it doesn't ring a bell.
Nuno?
Nope.
I'm just saying it's a little awkward. It's a little.
It is. It's when you know it when you see it when it's uncomfortable, and that was uncomfortable.
It's akin to the debate, which I told you guys earlier. There is a debate as well when you have kids. Is like, how old is too old to do the co-showering? You got like a 1-year-old who's still working on, walking or standing up. You're like, I can just knock this out together, and you kind of get in the shower and you hold them. But then there's the moment when they can stand, and then you start going, is this appropriate? And then there's that moment when you're like, I think he's eye level. And then there's the questions moment, like he's asking questions that he shouldn't be asking. What are we doing here? This is way, that's like when they're 13 or so. I'd say it's clearly over the line, right? But you do have that debate as a parent where you're like, when is this too late? All right. The Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. How the Pats win. Straight ahead.
Thank you for listening to the Will Cain Podcast. You can listen to the Will Cain Show live weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. The Will Cain Podcast.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like I'm on top of the world.
Disclaimer, you will not be transported to the top of the world. In the unlikely event you find yourself at the Arctic Circle, seek shelter from the elements immediately to avoid frostbite and or hypothermia. Geico will not be responsible if you find yourself in a cave or crevasse with a lonely abominable snowman, who in all likelihood will force you to play games including but not limited to Go Fish, Charades, Chinese checkers, or his personal favorite, Red Rover, send Yeti on over. Geico is not liable for any damages, either physical or emotional.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
This is the Will Cain Podcast on ESPN Radio.
The New England Patriots will beat the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl, and I'm going to tell you why. One reason. Reason 4,362 of why the New England Patriots will beat the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. They're not going to get as tired. And it's going to show up in the fourth quarter. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. I'm going to break that down for you. What sleep, running, and no-huddle offenses might have to do with why the New England Patriots will beat the Philadelphia Eagles in the fourth quarter. But first, I'm still here. Some have been worried I might have gotten suspended during the commercial break. Is our boss, Liam, in the control room right now, Cerruti?
He is.
Did I pull off the description of the groin massage for Tom Brady and the shower hypothetical on the right side of the line, or did I get over, Liam? I'm still here, so I'm going to make some assumptions.
Yeah, you were okay. You tiptoed the line very well. You know.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's for Disney standard, obviously, with an English accent standard, it's very prim and proper around here.
Yeah, just, if we do that story again, like don't play out with your body what happened there. It's that maybe was a little much for the TV audience.
Maybe stop saying rub down too.
Yeah.
I will take one under advisement and reject the other. Rub down's a perfectly fine term. It's almost a clinical term for what goes on in a massage. As for me, on ESPN News, enacting the groin massage, I will take that under advisement, Liam. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Also, we've been asking today why unaffiliated fans would be rooting for the Eagles. So you're a Rams fan. So you're a Broncos fan. Why root for the Eagles? 888-729-3776. The whole country apparently is rooting for the Eagles. Casey in Texas. Casey in Texas? You're rooting for the Eagles?
Well, let me start with, you're my absolute favorite. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, which makes it overly.
Whoa! Casey, don't start with buttering me up and dropping that you're a Cowboys fan and you're rooting for the Eagles?
I know, brother. I know. That's why. I follow that with how painful it is, but I do have one good reason to root for the Eagles, which all 4 years were legit. I loved them, but you forgot one, and that is Nick Foles. Austin West.
Because he's a Texan?
Absolutely.
All right.
I mean, you're the judge. Right. You're the judge. You can approve that, but
yeah, but I'm not going to, Casey. Listen, this is one of those. All right, I'm sorry, Casey. I got to stop you there. This is one of those things. The judge is going to say that's an interesting point, but falls far short of a Cowboys fan ever rooting for the Eagles. I like that Nick Foles is from Texas, played at Austin Westlake, high school ball there, but no, Casey, no. You're not allowed to do this. You can't root for the Eagles. This is part of what we do as fans. You don't cross this line. This is a picket fence. This is a picket line that you never ever cross. Never. There's no scenario in which you get to root for the Eagles. None. You could have Rowdy, the Cowboys mascot, playing quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, and you don't root for the Eagles. Troy Aikman could come out of retirement and play for the Eagles. You don't do that. Tony Romo. Let me just think about that one for a second. If Romo suited up in that gear, you still don't root for the Eagles, Casey. The judge has ruled that is not acceptable, and you need to pay penance. Couple Hail Marys and so forth. All right. What's the time? Do we want to hear from these Eagles fans, or do I want to tell you what's going to happen in the game? Let's do this. I'm going to tell you how this is going to work. The Eagles are going to lose to the Patriots because of fatigue. This is the reason 4,362 that I'm laying out for you why the Patriots are going to win this game. Hear me out. First of all, there's a couple articles, and I talked about this a little earlier with Louis Riddick in our show. A couple articles this week out about the kind of training Belichick has the Patriots adhering to. And there's two specific ones that I found fascinating. First of all, the effort and time in training camp, in the summer, and even during the season that the Patriots put into this. And it's always simple. It's always simple with the Patriots. It's never mind-blowing. Running. There was interviews with players who'd come from other teams, signed as free agents, drafted out of college, and they said they'd never run like the way they run when they got to the Patriots. Every practice. And it's not about being able to run 5 miles. It was constant interval training. Run as hard as you can, rest 30 seconds. Run as hard as you can, rest 30 seconds. Always game simulation. Always running at peak high-level intensity and then rest. Then redo it again. That running adds up to conditioning. Add that 1 to this point 2. Article posted today by Dave Fleming on ESPN.com. The effort and time and focus the Patriots put into sleep. And again, it's always simple. It's always simple. There's never it's not about some Chip Kelly coming in and reinventing football, although he was big on the whole sleep cycle stuff. It's never about somebody coming in and innovating you out of the game, doing something you never heard of. It's how disciplined are you in doing the things we all know. And the Patriots care about sleep. They talk about power naps for Tom Brady at the stadium before the Super Bowl. 1.5 power naps. Something he copied, by the way, from Steve McNair, who did it when he was quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. Making sure, because the difference between one REM cycle, getting one extra REM cycle, they have shown in this article by Dave Fleming, is a 16% decrease in your motor skills, your motor ability. Everything the Patriots are doing is designed for peak performance, sleep, run in the Super Bowl. But look, it's not just about abstracts. How does that play out? I'm going to tell you specifically how that plays out. And Louis Riddick teased this a little bit earlier when he talked about last year's Super Bowl. In the first quarter of the Super Bowl last year against the Atlanta Falcons, the Falcons got pressure on Tom Brady 60% of the time. They rushed him. 60%. By the fourth quarter, that had dropped down to 12%. The Falcons were dog tired. The advantages they had in the first quarter were gone by the fourth quarter, as the well-rested, well-run, well-conditioned Patriots were still humming. How does that play in this game? The key, and again, we heard this from Louis Riddick, the key to the Eagles, for the Eagles will be, can they get pressure on Tom Brady? Well, guess what they have? The Eagles have a deep line. They have Chris Long, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Vinnie Curry. They've got the rookie Derek Barnett. They can rotate defensive linemen throughout that game. They can rotate fresh legs throughout that game to keep fatigue from setting in, to keep pressure on Brady. And what is the chess match then from Belichick? What can he do to ensure this fourth quarter looks like other fourth quarters? Well, Bill Barnwell, today, great article on ESPN, says, watch for this. Watch for the no huddle. Watch for the hurry up. Watch for the Patriots rushing, pushing, never letting the Eagles sub those defensive linemen out, sub those fresh defensive linemen in. That's how they attempt to fatigue that defense out. It'll be interesting to see on Sunday if that's what Bill Belichick does, but we know they're geared to being there in the fourth quarter, to beating you. There's no coincidence that Tom Brady has 11 fourth quarter comebacks in the playoffs, to far more than any other quarterback. No coincidence. Work creates the outcome. All right, quickly, Cerruti, do you have some of our resident Eagle fans saying what kind of sacrifices they'd make to win a Super Bowl?
A couple guys
right.
answering
Who is this
the same
and
question.
What do they do?
We're going to play Mike Uranaga first.
Okay.
Would I give up Carson Wentz for a Super Bowl win? No, because Carson Wentz equals multiple Super Bowl wins. So no, I wouldn't give up Carson Wentz for that.
Oh, bird in the hand, Uranaga. Bird in the hand? We have 3 resident Eagle fans at ESPN Radio. Mike Uranaga, Cliff Augustin, Pat Costello. Did they all say this? They wouldn't get rid of Wentz for a Super Bowl now?
They didn't. So let's play Cliff's.
Okay.
Would I give up Carson Wentz for a Super Bowl win? Ooh, yeah. Right? Like, because we don't know if we would get a Super Bowl with Carson Wentz or without Carson Wentz. So, of course, I would give up Carson Wentz.
Oh, Cliff would do it. Uranaga is awful cavalier about thinking they get 2 or 3 from Wentz, no problem. So give up this one.
I think you got to take it now. Right?
Bird in the hand. Bird in the hand. One more. Let's break the tie. What did Pat Costello say?
Would I give up Carson Wentz for a Super Bowl win? No, absolutely not. Because this year proved that we could go to the Super Bowl anytime in the next couple of years, and Carson Wentz is going to be the guy to take us there. It's not going to be Nick Foles. So, no, Carson Wentz is staying, and I would give up the Super Bowl for that.
Oh. Nobody likes the bird in the hand argument. Take the guarantee. Don't gamble on the hypothetical. Matter of fact, let's stick with that. Can you get too cute? One columnist in San Francisco is saying this is the time for the 49ers to do what? To trade Jimmy Garoppolo. Why? Because his value is at an all-time high. People just can't take the bird in the hand. The Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Home Insurance. Getting a quote is now easier than ever. Straight ahead, can you just take the bird in the hand? It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. What's up, everyone? Will Cain here. Support for the Will Cain podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/will. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLS, consumeraccess.org, number 3030. If you're just joining us, these poor, sorry Eagles fans just are sitting at the bottom of the NFC East with 0 Super Bowl wins. I mean, of course, the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, have 5 Super Bowl wins. Even the New York Giants have 4 Super Bowl wins. And then the Washington Redskins, the sad state of the Washington Redskins, they're sitting on 3 Lombardi trophies. And the Eagles have none. So what we've done here on the Will Cain Show is scan the ESPN radio department for the biggest Philadelphia Eagles fans in the building and asking them, what would you be willing to give up to get that first Lombardi trophy, to guarantee a win on Sunday for the Philadelphia Eagles? And we have learned through the course of our show that, for example, Pat Costello would be celibate because he said, well, I already am, so no big sacrifice. So he's willing to give up sex for the Eagles to win their first Super Bowl. Mike Uranaga said he would cut off his pinky finger with an old school paper cutter. Just slice the thing right off, but he won't eat Tide Pods. He will not eat Tide Pods for a Super Bowl. And the last question, which I find fascinating, and I'm actually willing to open up the phone lines to Philadelphia Eagle fans about this, 888-729-3776. Would you give up Carson Wentz for a Super Bowl today? Would you trade Carson Wentz to whatever it may be to get your Lombardi trophy through the door right now? And it was split. Some of our fans felt like Carson Wentz is a path to 2 or 3 more. And some said, no, take the bird in the hand. Don't wait on the 2 in the bush. Take the bird in the hand. What's up, Cerruti? You had a question. So, by the way, Philadelphia Eagle fans, 888-729-3776, genuinely interested. Would you, if I put that devil's bargain to you, you can have a Super Bowl, but you can't have Carson Wentz in the future, would you take the deal? What's up, Cerruti?
All right, so I got a prop bet for you. And it's the most annoying one on the board. The prop bet is how many times will the word dilly be said during the broadcast? And the over-under is set at 12.5.
Dilly.
This is a Super Bowl prop bet.
This is my
I can
nightmare.
bet on this?
I would not bet on it because I'd be miserable.
Does that count? That doesn't count commercials. That is straight broadcast.
No, it has to be the commercial.
I was going to say, there's no way Al Michaels...
commercials, Winter.
Yeah,
there's I was going to say, there's no way Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth are going to say dilly 12 times.
I would
dilly.
No, you're right, Winter. There's no way they're
gonna say it's a steal for Vegas.
That means that dilly has to be said 7 times.
I'm trying to picture Chris Collinsworth on the first touchdown. dilly.
Dilly Philly.
Oh, God, if somebody did that, I'd throw up in my mouth. Dilly Philly. Oh, my God. All right, Cerruti. Over. Counting the commercials, over.
You think it'll be said 7 times? Dilly would be said at least 7 times.
Dilly.
The phrase. Yes.
It's said 7 times in one commercial.
I know. It does feel like it's at least 3 or 4 in one commercial. Right? So if it gets 2 runs, I'm there.
Well,
that
you know they're going to make twice, a special one for the Super Bowl. They're going to come out with a special dilly one now. And yeah, like Kevin said, they may say it 6 times in the one commercial.
And then it's going to get run twice.
They're coming strong for their Super Bowl.
Dilly.
Take the over. Hammer the over. That's get rich quick money right there. Over on dilly.
All right,
that's your nightmare, Cerruti? Because you're too cool for dilly.
I have a dilly related question because This is obviously the most annoying ad going right now. It's awful. And it's
Dilly Dilly?
It's terrible, right? Like
Dilly Dilly.
Who likes this? Who thinks it's funny?
I like it.
Go Looking Wingo?
I like it.
Yeah, huge in the Go Looking Wingo guys. Yep, big fans.
Dilly Dilly. I like it, Bubba.
But this has me a question. So remember the What's Up ad? The Budweiser What's Up ad?
That one was not good.
Well, it was like 10 years ago. Did people hate those as much as they hate Dilly Dilly, or did they like them as much as well? Like, what was the vibe there?
I don't think people hate Dilly Dilly. I do not.
All of my
think
friends
if you
hate Dilly Dilly.
Well, you're Mal Cerruti, millennial,
I'm
too
so
cool for
Yeah.
the
There you
A side
go.
of
That's
the
your
record.
go-to every time.
Dilly Dilly. You're too cool for the A side. You're B side Cerruti. So I'm telling you, I told you the Fireball story a few weeks ago when I was at a bar during the SEC championship game that turned into the pull-up contest at the bar because we'd had about 12 Fireballs in us. And I'm going to tell you something. And I wasn't an offender. There was a lot of offenders on the Dilly Dilly chance on a shot or two. It's around. I'm telling you. It's not
my crowd.
Not everybody.
Yeah, sounds like a real cool crew.
Dilly Dilly. Just for that, just for that, Bubba, I know what the next hypothetical we're going to give to our Eagles fans is.
Yeah, you guys did some shots and said Dilly Dilly. Wow, what a night.
You can tweet the show through the 100flowers.com Twitter feed at Will Cain Show. Get your Valentine's needs knocked out today with up to 60% off best-selling bouquets, arrangements, and gifts from 100flowers.com. To score up to 60% off, go to 100flowers.com/ESPN. I'm going to talk about Jimmy Garoppolo. I was going to talk, get that 60% off. Go do that. Go get your flowers. You know, if you got a wife, girlfriend, if you got a boyfriend, whatever, go get that done. Get it done now. All right, Bubba. So yeah, I'm real cool. I'm doing Dilly Dilly and shots. So I was going to talk about Jimmy G, but we're going to do that in a second. Should the Niners trade Jimmy G? That proposal has been put out there. We're going to take it head on. But let's go back to our Eagles fans, Rudy. I want the one about Bubba in it. Let's find that one out. Can you tee that one up for me?
All right, so here is Cliff.
Would I be willing to cuddle with Bubba during an entire movie for the Eagles to win the Super Bowl? Zero chances ever. The Eagles could be ringless forever and ever and ever, and that would never happen. Cuddle with Bubba? What the hell? Are you kidding me? I'd rather cuddle with a grizzly bear.
Oh, Bubba, I'm sorry.
Cliff thinks he's got this rivalry as the Go Looking Wingo board op. He thinks he's cool, so he's just jealous.
Was that the Universal, Cerruti? Was everybody a big no on cuddling with Bubba for 2 hours for a full movie?
Why not?
Yeah, here's our friend Pat again.
Would I be willing to cuddle with Bubba during an entire movie for the Eagles to win the Super Bowl? I would cuddle with Bubba for like a grilled cheese sandwich, but it would have to be a good grilled cheese sandwich. It wouldn't take much for me to cuddle with Bubba. I mean, he's like a big teddy bear.
One thing we're learning about Pat is he's very love starved. We know that he's lacking in affection. He's been celibate for who knows how long, so has no problem remaining celibate for an Eagles Super Bowl, and yet he's ready to jump into that cuddle sack with Bubba for an Eagles Super Bowl. Not only that, but for a grilled cheese. Poor Pat.
Pat's pretty weird, man.
Pat's just seeking help for Valentine's Day that's fast approaching.
Bad for Pat needs to get a life.
Pat quickly becoming the star of the day.
Pat needs that 60% off from 1-800-Flowers.
Dilly
That could
dilly.
solve some things, Pat. All right. The phone lines are lit up on why people want to root for the Eagles. Also, all right, let's do this. There's a column out. It's in San Francisco. I believe, Cerruti, is it in the San Francisco Chronicle? It's reputable, right?
I think it's the Press Democrat.
Oh. Well, still, it's been floated out there. Should the 49ers capitalize, sell high, trade Jimmy Garoppolo now, get all they can, because there's another option for them out there? That straight ahead on the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Mike Golick here. You know, ADT, the #1 security company, can now help keep you safe at home and when you're on the go. Get started with the ADT Starter Kit professionally installed for only $49. Plus, you'll get ADT Go, the new family mobile safety app and service with 24/7 emergency response for free with any ADT security system. Go to ADT.com/podcast to learn more today.
Requires 36-month monitoring contract, QSP and Easy Pay. Activation and early termination fees may apply. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com. Additional charge for ADT Go premium services after March 31st, 2018.
Sometimes people just get too cute. Sometimes you just get ahead of yourself. You can't just take the W. You get greedy. You want more. That seems to be happening out in San Francisco, where there's at least one person forwarding the idea that you could sell now on Jimmy Garoppolo. But we've also asked the question today, because we understand how starved for Super Bowls Eagles fans are. What would you be willing to sacrifice? What would you be willing to do? Would you be willing to cut your pinky off? Would you be willing to forego sex? Would you be willing to cuddle with Bubba for 2 hours? We got varying answers from our Eagles fans in our ESPN radio department. But one of the things we asked is, would you sell Carson Wentz? If I'll give you a Super Bowl today, would you sell Carson Wentz for the future? And it was divisive. Nuno, by the way, during the commercial break, that's when he fires off all his hot takes, finds this ridiculous. Why, Nuno?
These fans, Eagles have never won anything, and they're talking about, I wouldn't give up a Super Bowl, give up Wentz for knowing that I'm going to win the Super Bowl on Sunday because I expect 2 or 3. Like, come on, get one first, then you can talk.
Fighting words.
Fighting words, Anthony. Anthony in Washington, D.C., are you an Eagles fan?
Yeah, I'm a diehard Eagles fan.
All right, well, you've never won a thing. Nothing. So why wouldn't you sell Wentz for a Super Bowl today?
Oh, no. I was telling your producer, when you first put that out there, I thought you were crazy. I was like, heck no, I'm taking Wentz. And then I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? Bird in the hand, you're right. I'll take the Super Bowl.
There you go. It would hurt. You're paying a big price, Anthony. But you're probably making the right decision. You got to get the one. There's no guarantee. Appreciate the call, Anthony. There's no guarantee Carson Wentz gets you back there. I mean, you got to feel good about your future, but let's talk about this bird in the hand argument. There's a columnist out in the Bay Area. He writes for the Press Democrat. His name's Grant Cain. And he puts together, honestly, I think it's an interesting idea. The idea is this. Now is the time for the San Francisco 49ers to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. Now hear Grant out. I will put the argument forward for Grant, okay? This is the argument. You are selling at an all-time high. Jimmy Garoppolo's value will never be better. Were he to come out in the draft this year, he would undoubtedly be the #1 pick. He's 26 years old. Everyone believes in him. You could possibly get, at least this is what Grant Cain believes, 2 firsts, a second, and a third. Which I don't know about that. I don't know that you could get all that for Jimmy Garoppolo. He's a free agent that you can franchise tag, so you're trading essentially a guy who's under franchise tag control. I don't know that you get 2 firsts, a second, and a third for that. Rudy, that's way overvalued, don't you think?
I don't know. I mean, like Carson Palmer went for 2 first-round picks, and that was late in his career.
We're starting to get an idea of the quarterback market. Garoppolo got it high second the first time.
I mean, Alex Smith got 2
high.
seconds like years ago. Why couldn't Jimmy Garoppolo, who's younger and probably people think is better, get at least 2 firsts?
Alex Smith got 2 seconds when he went from the Niners to the Chiefs. Alex Smith just commanded, at the age of 33, a 3rd-round pick and a player valued fairly highly in Kendall Fuller, defensive back. I still don't think you could get all this for Jimmy Garoppolo. But let's just say you
nuts, Will. The person, what he's proposing to receive in return. You're not getting that.
Why? I mean,
I think it's high too.
People trade up all the time for guys like that. They give up 2 first-round picks for Robert Griffin III, who never played in the league at that point.
Hold on, Rudy. I just figured it out. I figured out why Winter's so mad. Because then it would show that the Patriots got hosed a second on the deal.
Serious about that. Here's actually why I'm looking at it. I actually pulled up Herschel Walker's trade because that's the most famous in history where the Cowboys got an absolute haul. It was a 1st and 90, a 1st and 91. So 3 firsts, 3 seconds, a 3rd and a 6th. And that was for a guy ticketed for all-time greatness. And this guy says, what? 2 firsts, a second, and a 3rd? For Jimmy
G?
One
thing you got to grant him, hold on now, Winter. The one thing you got to grant him is the market is at an all-time high for Garoppolo. You can't imagine an available quarterback that would have a higher value than Jimmy Garoppolo.
Agree.
He listed off Bills, Jets, Broncos, Cardinals, Browns, all of these teams, all in on Jimmy Garoppolo right now were you to put him on the market. So you're selling high. I like that part about what this guy's saying. Get highest value. And to hear him out, here's the other side of his argument. You guys can hear all of this. He's saying, this is a time when the 49ers aren't actually under the gun. They're not, the leverage lies with them. Why? Because of the Alex Smith trade. The Alex Smith trade made Kirk Cousins a free agent. So Kirk Cousins is now available. Kyle Shanahan spent years with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins knows the 49ers offense. He knows Kyle Shanahan. He's had more time with Shanahan than Garoppolo has. So the option of Cousins sitting out there gives you flexibility, gives you options to do something with Garoppolo. And where you want to sell on him at a high and try to pull off a Herschel Walker, build your team around him while putting Kirk Cousins as your quarterback, now would be the time to do it. But, I agree with you, Winter. It is bananas. It's too cute by a mile. Here's why. It's the whole thing with would you trade Carson Wentz to get your Super Bowl today? Just take the bird in the hand. Don't hunt for the two in the bush. You've got your quarterback that you can count on for the next 5, 6, 7 years, San Francisco. This is like splitting 2 tens when you're at the blackjack table. Yeah, it's nice that you got 2 tens, but you got a guaranteed winner if you stick on 20. Or if not guaranteed, really high likelihood that the dealer's not going to hit 21. You never split 2 tens. By the way, quick story. Sitting in Las Vegas, Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, saddled up to the table because Jenny McCarthy was sitting there, had to play blackjack at a table with Jenny McCarthy. She was with her boyfriend. He tried to split 2 tens. It was at that moment that Jenny and I were destined for each other. Ultimately, I found. Well, she turned to me she turned to me and said, "You never split 2 tens, right? You never split 2 tens." And I looked at him. I said, "Dude,
I was hoping you capitalized."
Of course,
I was rooting for you.
Moron move, and now Jenny's appealing to me. Now Jenny and I have common. I outkicked my coverage on my wife, so I didn't.
Okay.
By the way, in the future, I'll tell you about when Jenny and I met again later in life on The View, and this came up. But you don't split 2 tens. That's the point. You don't split 2 tens. That's what this would be for the 49ers. Agree, resident 49er fan?
I would consider it. I honestly believe I'd consider it, especially if I get that haul back.
Well, that's the problem. You're not getting that haul.
Well, I think we disagree on that.
Okay.
If you're the Jets.
All right, let's cut that. Hey, let's cut that haul in half. This guy, Grant Cohn at the Press Democrat, says 2 firsts, a second, and a third. I'll give you 1 first. I'll give you a first and a second, Cerruti, for Jimmy Garoppolo, and you can go sign Kirk Cousins. Do you do that?
No,
deal?
I want 2 firsts. Need 2 firsts.
That's the linchpin for you. You got to have 2 firsts.
If you're the Jets, for example, and you're going to take a quarterback, you're thinking about taking a quarterback at 6. Why not just kick in the extra first-round pick and get a guy that you know could actually play in the league, as opposed to taking a chance on a guy like Baker Mayfield?
What you do is you hang on to Jimmy Garoppolo. That's what you do. You don't get cute. You're getting cute. Take the bird. Learn from the Eagles fans. Even most of the Eagles fans at this point are saying they'd sell Wentz for a Super Bowl. Take the bird in the hand. All right, straight ahead coming up. Remember that thing we said about the face of ESPN in 5 years? Right? I got 5th. What was this guy? He was super high, right? Can you remember, Bubba?
No, we'll look it up, though.
We'll look it up. In the meantime, you should know he's the host of the soon-to-be debuted show Get Up on ESPN. Greeny will be on the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. This is so weird. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. I'm about to invite Mike Greenberg to come on my show and get interviewed by me. That's the weirdest thing in the world because my entire ESPN existence, the relationship has only worked in the reverse. Me going on his show and him asking me questions. This is like, well, I don't know. It's not wife swapping, but it's like, it's just a reversal of roles. We're going to have to feel this out, Greeny. I'm not sure how this is going to go.
Well, do you remember the Bizarro Jerry episode of Seinfeld? That's sort of what this is. This is the Bizarro world where you're the host and I'm the guest and you're asking the questions and I'm answering them. And let's just see how it goes. I have a feeling neither one of us is going to particularly like it.
It's Mike Greenberg on the Will Cain show on ESPN Radio. This is so fun. Oh, what could I ask you? I haven't prepared for this. No, Greeny, I have a list of things I'm excited to talk to you about. First of all, I'm disappointed to hear you haven't watched the two Bills yet, and you should because it's awesome. But you can't help but think of guys like yourself, in other words, New York Jets fans, throughout the documentary. And you come across these moments in the documentary where you realize how close you are to having the greatest coach of all time, how close you are to a different and alternate and better life, a better history, a better future. Does that haunt you, Greeny?
Yeah, I mean, the legendary HC of the NYJ day, of which the anniversary was just, I want to say 2 weeks ago or so, is one of the darkest days in Jet history. I mean, Bill Belichick was the head coach of the Jets for one day. But here's how stupid I am. I thought it was a good thing that he left. I, like many other idiots, thought, well, that guy didn't work in Cleveland, and he doesn't seem to have a whole lot of personality. I'm actually not unhappy that he isn't going to be the coach of the Jets. I'll take it a step farther. Well, here's how ridiculously stupid I am. When the Jets injured Drew Bledsoe, week 2 of the 2001 NFL season, I went on Mike and Mike the next day, and I said Bill Belichick is going to get fired at the end of this year. They had a below-average first season that he was the head coach in New England. I didn't think much of him as a coach. He was going to have to now work without his starting quarterback, and I said, this is going to be it. Belichick is going to have 2 years in New England, and that's going to be all there is to it. And from that moment forward, I'm not 100% sure they've lost consecutive games, and they're now appearing in their 8th Super Bowl. So that's how much I know about all of this.
That's Mike Greenberg, host of Get Up, beginning in April on ESPN. You're good at hypotheticals, so I've got 2 that we're talking about on my show today. We've taken all these, Super Eagle fans inside the ESPN radio department and asked them what would you be willing to give up for that first Lombardi trophy, that one that's eluded you as a tortured fan base. And here's the one I'll ask you. I'll put you in that seat. Would an Eagles fan give up Carson Wentz to get their Super Bowl now? Would you, if it were the Jets in the same scenario, give your, perceived, hypothetically, hopefully franchise quarterback to get that Super Bowl in your hand today?
Yeah, it's a crazy question, but I mean, like they would then have to trade him away, or he would retire, or something like that. I think the answer is yes, because what are you trying to get? Why do you want the player if not to be able to win? If you're a fan of the Patriots or some other team that wins all the time, like I'm surrounded by Yankee fans all of my life. When you've won 27 times, then one more championship doesn't seem like the end-all, be-all. But when you haven't won a championship, your team has not won a championship in your conscious lifetime, which is the category I would place myself in. The Jets won their only Super Bowl when I was 1.5 years old. Then, yeah, there's no purpose in having the quarterback if you're not going to win a championship. If you're telling me the difference is winning and losing the quarterback, or not winning and keeping the quarterback, then I would take the winning and losing the quarterback.
The bird in the hand. Good. Okay, well, I'm firing crazy questions at you. This is the other hypothetical. And this was set up because there's a columnist in the Bay Area who said this. Now is the time for the Niners to sell high on Jimmy Garoppolo. The argument would be this. Yeah, I know. But listen, hear out the argument. You're never going to get a higher price. He commands a better price than anybody else out there that's available. He'd be the number 1 pick if he came out in the draft. This is the time. This is his sell high point. And on the other side of the equation, you have an alternative. You have Kirk Cousins, who knows Kyle Shanahan, who spent years with Kyle Shanahan, and who's now available as a free agent. So what do you do this time? Bird in the hand?
He's more expensive. So the Kirk Cousins is going to cost a fortune. I'll say this, and I've said this to anyone who will listen. Jimmy Garoppolo was the guy that I would love to see become the quarterback of the Jets, and Bill Belichick was never going to let that happen. In fact, I think you could make an argument that one of the reasons that Belichick traded him for 50 cents on the dollar was that he wanted to control where he went. I don't think Belichick wanted any part of trading Garoppolo, and we all read Seth Wickersham's story, et cetera. But I think that Bill Belichick wanted to make good and sure that he did not wind up on not so much that Belichick would be afraid of the Jets per se, but on a team that he could come back and haunt them and potentially be in the division or potentially be in the conference, because you're looking at 3 other teams in his division that all need quarterbacks. So I think that's part of the reason why. I think Garoppolo is a star, an absolute star. And if you ask me right now, this might sound crazy, but if you ask me right now, would I rather take the money out of it, would I rather have Kirk Cousins or Jimmy Garoppolo quarterbacking my team? I would rather have Garoppolo.
I would too. But okay, last question. I've got like a minute left. Again, as the Jets fan, what do you want? Do you want Kirk Cousins? Do you want Baker Mayfield at 5? What do you want?
No. The Jets are at 6, and I do not want Baker Mayfield. The only quarterback of the big group that I really like is Josh Allen, but I don't think any of the big three is going to be available. And so while I'm not 1,000% sold on Cousins, the Jets are a team that has not solidified the quarterback position in decades. So he is the bird in hand. So yes, I will applaud it and be in favor of it if they wind up being the team that pulls the trigger and writes the huge check and brings in Kirk Cousins.
That's just laud-worthy consistency on taking the bird in hand on all of my hypotheticals. All right. Thanks, Greeny. Appreciate your time.
Let's do this again sometime. That did not feel like nearly enough.
I'll do it every week with you, Greeny.
Okay. Now we're talking.
It's the host of ESPN's Get Up, debuting on April 2nd, Mike Greenberg, with us. The Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, and drivers who switch to Progressive can save an average of $620.
Thank you for listening to the Will Cain Podcast. You can listen to the Will Cain Show live weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. The Will Cain Podcast.